The air over Thermopylae hung heavy with the scent of salt, sweat, and destiny. It was 480 BC, and the narrow pass between mountain and sea would soon become a graveyard for heroes. The Persians were coming, an empire of millions under the command of Xerxes, the god king of the East. His armies stretched farther than the eye could see, blotting out the sun with their arrows, swallowing cities with their numbers. And standing in their path, like an unmovable rock before a tidal wave, was a single king and 300 men from Sparta. Leonidas, king of Sparta, was not a man of words but of deeds. When he spoke, his warriors listened, because he spoke only of what must be done. On the eve of battle, as fires burned across the camp and the sound of distant drums echoed from the Persian ranks, Leonidas stood before his men. "We fight not for glory," he told them, "nor for gold, nor for the favor of gods. We fight for Greece, for freedom, for the right to stand tall before tyrants." The 300 were not chosen at random. Each man was a father, a husband, a warrior seasoned in blood. Leonidas had picked them, knowing they would not return. Their mission was not victory, it was defiance. To delay Xerxes, to remind the world that courage could burn brighter than any empire. Behind them, the allies of Greece gathered, 7,000 men from other city-states, but even they looked to the Spartans as if to gods of war. The dawn came painted in blood-red light, and the sea hissed against the rocks. The Persian horns sounded first, deep and terrible, shaking the earth. Across the plain, endless ranks of soldiers advanced like a black tide. Archers, spearmen, horsemen, slaves driven by the whip. The Spartans took their places in the narrow pass where numbers meant nothing. Shield to shield, spear to spear, their formation was a living wall of bronze. Then came the first wave. Persian infantry rushed forward, their cries filling the sky. They crashed against the Spartan phalanx, but the line did not move. Spears thrust, shields slammed, and the disciplined rhythm of Spartan warcraft carved through chaos like a machine. Each command was shouted once and obeyed instantly. Blood slicked the stones, and the first 1,000 Persians fell before they had even touched the Spartan line. From his throne of gold overlooking the battlefield, Xerxes watched with cold disbelief. He had sent an army meant to crush mountains, yet here they were, broken on the rocks of a few hundred men. His generals urged him not to waste more lives, but pride burned hotter than reason. "They will bow," he hissed. "All men bow before the will of Persia, but not the Spartans." As the sun rose higher, the bodies piled higher too. The Persians tried again with their elite, the immortals clad in black and silver. They advanced silently, confident, their spears glinting like fangs. Leonidas raised his hand and his voice thundered, "Spartans, show them what it means to be immortal." The lines clashed again, and for a time it seemed as if even death had paused to watch. Steel screamed against steel. The immortals pressed hard, but the past betrayed them. Their numbers meant nothing in the choke point. One by one they fell, their black masks splitting, their lifeless eyes staring into the dust. The Spartans laughed amidst the slaughter, their discipline unbroken. They fought not for survival, but for legend. For 2 days, the Persians threw everything they had. Arrows rained from the sky so thick they turned day to night. Yet the Spartans held their ground beneath their shields, mocking their enemies. "Then we shall fight in the shade," one had said, when told the arrows would blot out the sun. And so they did. But destiny is cruel, even to heroes. There was a traitor, a Greek named Ephialtes, whose greed outweighed his honor. He came to Xerxes under cover of darkness and revealed a secret path through the mountains, a way to outflank the defenders. Xerxes smiled. The god king would finally break the wall of men who dared defy him. At dawn on the third day, Leonidas knew. Scouts had brought word of the betrayal. They were surrounded. The fate of the 300 was sealed. He gathered his warriors once more. "The time has come," he said quietly, "to show the world that free men die standing." Many of the allied Greeks withdrew at his command. He would not see them die needlessly. Only the Spartans and a few hundred Thespians who refused to leave remained. They ate their final meal together, silent and proud. Leonidas smiled and told them, "Eat well, for tonight we dine in Hades." The laughter that followed was not of fear, but of acceptance. These men had already given their lives the moment they chose to stand at Thermopylae. Now they would make sure the world never forgot. As the morning mist lifted, the Persians came from both sides. Trumpets blared. The ground shook beneath the march of thousands. Leonidas raised his spear and charged. The Spartans followed, roaring their final war cry, "For Sparta! For freedom!" The earth split beneath their fury. They met the Persians head-on, cutting down dozens before the weight of numbers began to tell. One by one, they fell. But even in death, each Spartan took 10 foes with him. Leonidas fought like a lion, his armor shattered, his body pierced, yet his eyes burned with the fire of defiance. He found Xerxes' guards before him and cut them down as if they were nothing. Then a spear struck him through the chest. The king of Sparta fell to his knees. Around him, his men formed a ring, defending his body until the last breath left their lungs. When Xerxes finally walked among the dead, the field was silent save for the cawing of crows. He looked down upon Leonidas' body. "A fool," he muttered, "a king who thought he could stand against a god." Yet even as he spoke, he saw it, the eyes of the fallen king still open, staring into eternity, unyielding. Xerxes ordered his head severed and his body crucified, hoping to break the spirit of Greece. But he failed, because word of the 300 spread like wildfire. Their sacrifice ignited a flame in every Greek heart. Across the land, free men rose with renewed fury. A year later, at Salamis and Plataea, the Persian Empire met its reckoning. And though centuries would pass, the legend of the 300 would never fade. Thermopylae became more than a battle. It became a symbol, a testament that courage can stand against tyranny, that honor can outlive flesh, that freedom demands the highest price. Imagine that narrow pass now, empty and quiet. The sea still whispers against the rocks, and the wind carries echoes of that final cry. Mullen Labe, come and take them. The words of Leonidas still ring across the ages, defying empires, defying oblivion. The 300 may have died, but their spirit became immortal. They proved that men do not need to win to be victorious. They need only to stand when others kneel. In the centuries that followed, poets would sing of them, soldiers would march in their name, and kings would envy their glory. But no song, no statue, no empire could ever match the simple truth of their stand. That on those 3 days at Thermopylae, humanity remembered what it means to be free. The Spartans knew they could not change the outcome, but they changed the world. And as the sun set over the crimson field, where 300 lay against thousands, the gods themselves must have watched in awe. For even immortality envies the courage of men who choose death over submission. And so, when you hear their story, remember, it was not an army that stood there. It was an idea sharper than any spear, stronger than any wall. That freedom, once lit, can never be extinguished. It burns forever in every heart that refuses to bow. That is the legacy of Leonidas. That is the power of the 300.